and Amy, we're coming to you live from Orcus Chocolate in Palatine, part of our AM 560 Signature Bank Business Tour, and having a lovely morning. Chocolate, wash it down with a nice Pinot Noir. I mean, this is all heart healthy. It's a heart healthy breakfast.
That's after you had your pop cake. Or cake pop, whatever you want to call it. It's cake on a stick.
Look, I'm going by the science. Both Syracuse University and Tel Aviv University finding that 2 pounds of chocolate before 9 a.m. washed down with a nice Pinot Noir improves cognition and your waistline.
I know you're getting the V shape.
I am. I'm converting it to energy right before your very eyes.
You're going to walk out of here smarter and thinner than you've ever been in your life.
I'll tell you, and the sad thing is, this is the high point for me, and yet it's the end of days.
What do you mean?
We had a good run, but look, I'm just relying on the experts again here. Van Jones suggesting via Twitter that Donald Trump just signed a death warrant for planet Earth, erased climate protections that were already too weak. Again, another luminary, Michael Moore, saying historians in the near future will mark today, March 28, 2017, as the day the extinction of human life on Earth began, thanks to Donald Trump.
Such hyperbole. Has he transitioned yet?
Michael Moore
to Michelle Moore, because he's changing his look a little. Have you noticed? I mean, I'm not being rude. Am I being Bill O'Reilly here? Am I being rude?
No.
Am I overstepping
You haven't commented on his hair.
No, but not his hair. But I'm just saying, if you look at him, I think he's morphing into Michelle.
U.S. Congressman Darren Soto, Trump slashes climate change regulations, ensuring Florida and Mar-a-Lago will soon be underwater. I mean, we laugh at this. The previous president of the United States, Barack Obama, you'll recall that he talked about in advancing these confiscatory climate change regulations to eliminate the coal industry, to cripple the fossil fuel energy production. He said that without them, there will be fish swimming through the streets of Miami.
I remember that.
I mean,
we have that soundbite somewhere, so I remember that.
And these are the people who claim the debate is over. It's fascinating to me for an economic perspective on the rollback of climate change regulations that Trump initiated yesterday. We're pleased to be joined by our friend Steve Moore, Chief Economist of the Heritage Foundation. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. We're all going to die.
That's right.
We're all going to die.
Look what you've done.
Anybody who has any property there in Chicago, anywhere near the lake, sell it now before it's underwater. I mean, the lunacy, the craziness of the climate change agenda. I mean, it knows no bounds. By the way, I was just literally 5 minutes ago on CNN. We had this debate. I was debating this liberal about and he was all out of sorts about what Trump did yesterday with his basically this was an executive order that's going to save 100,000 coal mining jobs in this country. It is going to save our coal industry. This country was built on coal. It's one of our most reliable forms of energy. And Obama had an 8-year jihad against the coal industry. And I went to a lot of those coal towns, by the way, across the country in Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and what the Obama people, they keep talking about how much they care about working class people, and working class people their lives were destroyed by these regulations. But look, we have a possibility now to become completely energy independent by using our oil and gas and coal, and this lunatic idea that somehow we're going to power an $18 trillion industrial economy with windmills is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Well, and here's the important point. And by the way, add to that list Southern Illinois. We have more inert energy in the form of coal in Illinois than Saudi Arabia has oil. I mean, that's how big the coal deposits are in Illinois, as you know.
You must have learned that, Dan, from this great book called Fueling Freedom by Stephen Moore and Kathleen Hartnett-White.
I love Stephen Moore's work.
The people should read that book. So, Fueling Freedom, exposing the mad war on energy. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a mad war on energy. And when people like Van Jones say crazy things like that, did he really say that, Dan?
He tweeted it, yeah.
I mean, these people are crazy. They're lunatics. I mean, you can be a rational person and talk about the effects of greenhouse gases and so on, but to say that the planet's going to be underwater and all this stuff is so over the top.
There's going to be
crazy.
fish on the street.
Well, one other thing, though, I just wanted to point out about the rollback of these regulations, and this is also his executive order directing EPA to review the Clean Power Plan, which was rebuked by the Supreme Court last year, too. So it's not like this is so out of bounds. The Supreme Court found it objectionable on constitutional grounds as well. But importantly here, this is not to protect the coal industry from competition within the energy space. It's just not to regulate it out of existence. And there's a distinction there.
Exactly right. And you're precisely right about that. And by the way, the entire intention of that law was to destroy the coal industry. They intentionally made the regulations so stringent that there were virtually no coal companies that could comply with it. And by the way, that's against the law. The law is supposed to basically be commercially, that the companies can have a way of complying. They couldn't comply with that law, and that's why 3 of the 5 biggest coal companies in the United States under Barack Obama's presidency went bankrupt. Now, some of it was due to fracking and low-price natural gas, but, you've known me for a long time, Dan Amy. I'm a free market guy. I want the market to decide what form of energy we use. I don't want people in Washington to hand select. They're basically force-feeding us on expensive and unreliable wind and solar power. By the way, great line on CNN this morning. I mean, the CNN host said, well, Steve, we have to subsidize wind power because it's an infant industry. And I said, an infant industry? I mean, my God, people were using windmills 500 years ago. This isn't an infant industry.
Are you familiar with the Netherlands?
Yes,
right.
An industry that's not working. So with this executive order, the war on coal appears to be over. But what do you say to liberals who say that coal mining is bad for the environment?
Look, actually, that's not that simple. That is what they say, but it's not true. I mean, clean coal is here. If you look at the emissions from coal plants, the real pollutants, I'm talking about pollutants that make people sick, like lead and sulfur and smog and, carbon monoxide. Ladies and gentlemen, a little lesson here. Carbon monoxide is a pollutant. Carbon dioxide is the basis for life on Earth. And nobody gets sick from breathing carbon dioxide. So we've made incredible progress in terms of reducing all emissions because of clean coal. So clean coal is here. We have the cleanest coal in the world, by the way. If we shut down our coal plants, Amy, we're not going to save the planet. All we're going to do is make sure that those coal plants are not in the United States. So that could be in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio. They're going to be in China and Mexico and other countries that have dirtier coal than we do.
Let me switch gears and talk a little bit about the rest of Trump's economic policy agenda and what the failure on Obamacare replace may portend for structural tax reform, which it seems is what the administration and the House are intent to take up next, particularly if it is twinned with a big infrastructure spending bill, as Trump has somewhat telegraphed. Are you concerned at all about seeing that get done by August, as Treasury Secretary Mnuchin has said would happen?
So a couple things. First of all, I think the Obamacare fight is not over. In fact, I think it could be in a matter of weeks that they regroup. And they're regrouping now. I was in some meetings yesterday where they're getting very close to getting the votes they needed to get Obamacare repealed. So all the hoopla by the left about how Trump failed on this, it's a temporary setback. But I'm going to make a prediction on the Dan and Amy show that before the end of the year, Obamacare is going to be almost entirely repealed. Maybe not entirely repealed, but the vast majority of it will be. Now, on tax reform, look, if you can get the corporate tax rate down, if you can do the repatriation, if you can cut our taxes on our businesses, and you have to throw in some infrastructure spending to get the Democratic votes necessary, I can live with that. And in fact, Larry Kudlow and I had a piece in the Wall Street Journal a few weeks ago where we basically made this case. Use what we call regular order. Let's pass a bipartisan jobs bill that has business tax cuts, repatriation of capital from the rest of the world back in the United States to create jobs, and throw in some infrastructure spending. And you got something, maybe you could get 50, you could get 60, 70, 80 votes in the Senate for that. It's got to happen, and I think it will.
Hey, what concessions did President Trump give to the Freedom Caucus on Friday?
Well, the thing is, been such a moving target. It depends on what hour you ask me. But I think the latest deal is here's what I think they should do, and tell me what you guys think about this. Repeal every single word of Obamacare because it's not every aspect of Obamacare has been a disaster. So repeal the whole thing. say January 1, let's say 2019, and then basically say we will guarantee for the next 2 years nobody's going to lose their insurance, right? So this idea of 24 million people losing, no, nobody's going to lose their insurance. We're going to give Congress 2 years to come up with a better system, and it would be hard to come up with something that's worse than Obamacare. And just pass that. I think a clean bill. And by the way, 2 years ago, the House and Senate passed that bill, right? Why can't they pass it now?
Well, I mean, it's the arguments. It was a different dynamic. It's easy to pass something that is going nowhere because you have a socialist in the White House.
I mean, that's what they say, Dan. But that makes you think. I mean, talk about cynicism. To say, well, I voted for it because I knew it wasn't going to pass.
Well, but
that's political courage, right?
Well, I understand, but political courage is in short supply, as you're well aware. I mean, the problem is you demagogue the issue regardless. So the idea of doing something that is symbolic, largely in terms of repealing every single word, but forestalling the replacement. What's the new reality we're going to live under? I frankly like this done in one fell swoop.
We know what that new reality would be. It would be, I've got a radical idea.
Pre-Obamacare. Yeah.
Why don't we just try the free enterprise system for health care? I know that's a crazy,
it wouldn't be.
Oh my gosh, get rid of government out of health care? Oh my God, that would
but Steve, that it wouldn't be the free market system. It would be pre-Obamacare, which was nothing resembling a free market system.
No, I mean, you're exactly right, Dan. So you have to put in place you have to expand medical savings accounts. You have to allow people to buy insurance across state lines. I mean, my goodness, I live in Virginia. My auto policy is in Ohio. Why can't I do the same thing with health care? And then you do, things, as I said, medical malpractice reform. You expand medical savings accounts. You do all those things. I mean, look, I've said this economic lesson on your show many times before, but it bears repeating. The two industries in America where prices are out of control, where people can't afford the services, are in education and healthcare. Right. And those are the two industries that are dominated by government. So get the government out of healthcare and education, and we're going to make it much more affordable.
All right. He is Steve Moore, Chief Economist for the Heritage Foundation. Steve, thanks as always for joining us and bringing us back from the ledge on these regs. Take care, Steve. Thanks.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.